One of the most important game mechanics to understand in Dunkirk, France 1940, is that of formations. The combat units are, of course, wooden blocks, and they represent a mix of infantry, mechanized, and armored units. However, the blocks themselves are organized into what we call formations, and each formation also has what we call a command block or command chit, and those blocks or chits will be placed into an opaque container at the start of each turn and randomly drawn. And the way the system works is that when a formation's command chit is drawn, that formation becomes activated. And it is those blocks, and only those blocks, the blocks of the active formation, that a player will be moving and fighting with during the game turn. Now let me just show you a few things I have here laid out for you. And I'll zoom in on this in a moment, but what we have is we have the blocks of the French Second Army, the BEF, and a German Army Group B. And here below you see the command chits or command blocks for each of these formations, the French Second, the BEF, and Army Group B for the Germans. Again, those command blocks are placed into an opaque container. I happen to use a bag. You could use a coffee cup, something where the player will not be able to see the block that he or she is pulling out. But the command chits are pulled out, and when that command chit is drawn, that formation is active. It will move and then conduct battles as needed. What we have here is a close-up of the formation command chits or command blocks. And as I explained, these command blocks are placed into the opaque container, drawn one at a time during the game turn. So each formation has its own command chit or command block, and when that block is pulled out of the opaque container, that formation is what we call the active formation, and it will be the formation that is moving and engaging in battle at that time. What we see here is a close-up view of the blocks of the French Second Army. Now, the French Second Army is a formation, and what you have here is the 5 blocks that represent that formation with their formation identity clearly shown right in the center of the block. When the French Second Army command block or command chit is pulled out of the opaque container, out of the bag, so to speak, the French Second Army would become the active formation, and the Allied player would then move as desired the French Second Army and then conduct combat if such combat occurred. Another key concept in Dunkirk, France 1940, in addition to the formation and formation command blocks or command chits, is also that of the headquarters blocks. Now, each formation in the game has among its combat units that are on the board one of the blocks being a headquarters block. And here we see a close-up of the headquarters block for the French Second Army. Now, headquarters blocks are combat units. They can move and engage in combat just like other blocks, but they're very important units as well because they hold the formation together. Each headquarters block has what we call a command range. And here you can see the command range in the lower right-hand corner for this headquarters block for the French Second Army is 2 hexes. What that means is that the blocks of the formation must remain relatively close to the headquarters block to be able to move and fight at full effectiveness. The headquarters ranges for the French and British blocks, or French and British headquarters blocks, is 2, and for the German headquarters blocks, those formations have a command range of 3, because the Germans had slightly better command control, better use of radios, and so on. So what this means is that any block of the second formation, when the second formation is activated, any block that is either in the hex with the headquarters or within 2 hexes of it would be what we call in command and could move and fight at full effectiveness. If a formation's unit is outside of the command range of the headquarters block when the formation is activated, that means the block is out of command and suffers some penalties, fairly significant penalties to its ability to move and to fight. I zoomed out this shot to help illustrate the concept of command range. What we're looking at here are the blocks, again, of the French Second Army, and of course I have them face down for the illustration so you can see where they are. Let's look at the hex that has 2 blocks in it, and as a side note, in Dunkirk, France 1940, the stacking limit for blocks is 2 blocks per side per hex. So the most you would ever have is 4 blocks total, 2 from each side in any particular hex. Let's look at the hex that has the 2 blocks in it. And what we have here is we have the command block right here and another block there. Now remember, the command range for the Allied blocks, the headquarters blocks, is 2. So obviously this block here, which is in the same hex, is in command range. Also, this block of the second formation here, which is only 1 hex away or adjacent, obviously is in command range. And also this block here, which is 2 hexes away from the headquarters, is in command range and is in command. For the example, I've put a French block up here, 1, 2, 3 hexes away. That block of the second formation would be what we call out of command and would suffer movement and combat penalties at the start of the activation for the French Second Army. Sometimes blocks will get out of command, and it's a matter of bringing them back into command within command range of the headquarters block in order to have them function at full capacity. A final word on headquarters blocks. They obviously are very important units. Headquarters blocks will, as I explained, occasionally engage in combat with enemy blocks. That's not unusual, but players will need to be very judicious about when they're committing the headquarters block to a battle. You see, if a headquarters block is eliminated in combat, there are ways to get it back into play, bring it back on the board, but the loss of a headquarters block can have significant negative impacts on the ability of that formation, of its formation, to function effectively during the game.